looking back on it now in hindsight, it was me playing the victim to keep myself sick, or me playing the victim so that I could be special and different in school.
Toni, Mikey's pissed off because, somebody's competing with the tattoo space here. So,
I wouldn't say mad. I would just say disappointed.
People being disappointed with me, so I'm good to go with that.
Hey, my face is tattooed. My dad didn't talk to me for like a year, so I'm used to disappointment too.
My mom would disown me, straight up disown me. I come home, I come from a Jewish family, bro. I go home with a tattoo. That's me. I'm out. Gone.
Oh,
and then
wow.
She would take me back.
The love of a parent. Well, hey, thanks for joining us. For those listening, watching, Toni's all the way in South Africa, so this is pretty cool to connect all the way across the globe. But I was so compelled when I found the way you're sharing your story of addiction and mental health recovery, and such an inspiration in that honesty. I've read so many comments, especially women, of how much it's helping them. So I want to start. What made you decide? Because you're 9 years in or 10 years in, I forget, of sobriety.
9.5 years in.
Hell yeah.
I'll be 10
right on. Congratulations. So what made you decide to open up so much about your recovery?
First of all, thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. I just want to make that clear from the get-go. I'm just super grateful.
Of course.
But what made me want to talk about it, so I've never really hit it in the beginning of my recovery journey, but I struggled with severe anorexia for a very long time. And for the first 6 years of my sobriety, I struggled with the eating disorder. And when I overcame the eating disorder and figured out how to cope with that, I felt like I was living a kind of real recovery where I could share on both kinds of recovery. And I feel like that space was missing because there aren't a lot of people talking about eating disorder recovery and addiction recovery, because the two kind of go hand in hand for a lot of people. And once I had found that recovery, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And I was sitting down with my friends, and we always go for coffees on a Sunday. And we were like, are we bored? We're working every day. We're just working to make money. What else can we do? And we were like, let's start a YouTube channel or something and just discuss recovery. And that's when it all began. And it's just snowballed from there.
So I'm curious. So I also suffered from bulimia, anorexia, all that stuff. What was your reasoning? What made you start doing that? Was it somebody that you saw on TV? You want to look like this person in the magazine, something like that?
It's super complicated. Thank you for sharing about yours as well. It's really important that we hear about men that struggle with it as well.
Yeah.
Since I was a little girl, so from the age of 9, I grew up in a family that was really attractive. Like, my mom is beautiful. Like, my whole family is just very attractive. And I always felt like an outsider. So I got body dysmorphic disorder from the age of 9. Mm-hmm. And I started putting on makeup. I started worrying about what I looked like really severely. And then when I got to high school, a lot of comments were being passed about people's weights. I was looking, especially in the early 2000s, when you open a magazine and it was just almost pro-anorexic culture. Mm-hmm. And there was someone I was very good friends with, who I'm friends with again now, in my recovery, who was struggling with an eating disorder. And I started noticing, and this is where I'm going to be as honest as possible, I started noticing the attention she was getting. And as a really young, attention-seeking, I need affirmation consistently kind of person at the age of 14, I wanted the people to look at me and be like, oh, we're concerned about Toni. Oh, what, we're worried about her. And I was like, I'll just lose a little bit of weight. And, maybe I'll start being accepted. People will start noticing me. I won't feel like such an outsider, without realizing what would actually become of that. Mm-hmm. And I thought that I could control it. And the next second, I'm in this whirlwind of a lifelong battle with a severe eating disorder. And I would think that's where it started.
Yeah, it's crazy because, what you're sharing there is at such a young age in looking outward for fulfillment. And that's kind of when we start that wonderful manipulation process, you know. And for most of us, it's subconscious. Did you find for you, was it kind of a subconscious, or did you actually plot it out, as you said, oh, if I go that route, then I can get this?
All subconscious. I was constantly in victim mode. From the moment I was born, I was a victim. The world owed me a favor. And I think I felt like, you know, I don't really fit in at school. I need to get pretty. I need to do something to make myself feel attractive, and then slipped into that world. I didn't plan it out, but looking back on it now in hindsight, it was me playing the victim to keep myself sick, or me playing the victim so that I could be special and different in school. And at the time, I didn't see that. At the time, I thought, oh, I'm being bullied. I feel so sorry for myself. You know, pour me a drink. And that was a consistent behavior my entire life.
Yeah. What was going on at home? Because I know you've made reference to, from what I can gather, your parents had separated, divorced?
Yeah. So I grew up it was a very tumultuous home. They were married. They only got divorced when I was in university. So during that whole stretch of time, it was a very scary environment as a child, you know, like when your parents close the door and you hear the screaming and the shouting, and it's just constant fear. And my mom also had a friend, this woman who would belittle me all the time. And I was a child, I was really young. And that friendship caused a lot of friction between my mom and my father. And he was like, this woman is destroying our child. And I didn't realize how intense that hatred my dad had towards that woman was, and how that played a big role in a lot of the issues in the household. And as time went by, my dad started working outside of Johannesburg, where we stay, and he was away for long periods of time. He would travel overseas to Hong Kong for long periods of time and come back, and it was very disconnected, incredibly disconnected. And then my dad had a really bad skiing accident, a water skiing accident. And he hit a tree and he broke his entire body. And so all his ribs broke, he punctured his lung, his kidney, and he was put in a coma.
Oh my God.
And when he came out of the coma, I mean, we were young, I was about 11, he changed completely. He went from being kind of the stoic, strong man to being really, really depressed. And that's when also everything started to change. Like seeing my father go through such mental health issues, physically and mentally going through hell, changed the dynamic of the household. And it became even more eggshells, like, because you don't know what to do as a child. You don't know how to protect them. And my parents would split up, get back together, split up, get back together. And I could go on for days about this, but just one more thing about that. My dad's family were horrific people. And I say this with I don't care. I hope they're listening to this. They were terrible to my father. They were terrible to me. They were terrible to my mother. And he was struggling in his family environment. So he didn't really know how to deal with a family, you know, as a father, because he never had that. And it was just tumultuous from the get-go. There were definitely affairs and stuff like that going on. It was dodgy. It was dodgy, to say the least. But he was a good dad. He was always a good dad. And then I found out when I was in my final year of high school that my parents had actually been married to each other before. So they had been divorced and got remarried to each other and had me and my brother. That is how messed up their relationship was. And then they got to
all the money being wasted on a divorce and then more money on a remarriage. Like that would be a ton. Because I've heard of people doing that, and I'm just like, just date then, dude. Like, just save yourself 20 G's and just go on a vacation or something. That's insane though, but it makes sense. All the fighting, you know what I mean?
No, they hated each other. My theory is that they had it was just an attraction, you know, one of those toxic attraction things. So we're like, let's split up, we're done, and then it's back together. And then let's ruin our kids' lives. Not joking.
No,
we know what that's about.
Oh yeah. I dated a
psychopath for a while, but she was very attractive on the outside, but on the inside, she was a fucking horrible person.
Yeah.
And I don't care if she hears it either.
Been there.
You know, us addicts know.
Yeah. Well, and the thing with it too is I was watching this really good piece yesterday on just talking about lust and how much people have this confusion of it. And the guy nailed me perfectly. He's like, you've been in that relationship and you come to about 2-3 years in and you realize you got nothing else to talk about but the kinky ways in which you want to have sex. He goes, you've got a problem, because if you go 10 years in, you're going to be like, I don't even like this person. I don't like myself in it. And, I've seen it. I know for me, I can relate to your story of that lineage of trauma that goes back. And clearly your dad brought that into the marriage and fatherhood.
Absolutely. And it's that toxic thing. As you were saying, I was talking about this today. It's just, I found that also so I grew up seeing that, and all my relationships were this just toxic because that's what you think a relationship is, what you think love is.
Product of your environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when did the substance use start to come into play? Did it come in hand with the bulimia and eating disorder?
So the eating disorder actually started before. So the eating disorder is my what I would call my primary illness. It's my primary issue. But then like I said, I come from a Jewish family. So my drinking started quite early. So at the age of 13, you have bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs and that kind of stuff, and you just drink. It goes hand in hand with that. And the first time I drank was at my brother's bar mitzvah. And it was when the eating disorder started. It was actually when the eating disorder started. I had a vodka lime, whatever. And it was the first time I blacked out at the age of 14. Was the first time I blacked out. I do not remember my brother's bar mitzvah. And that was a pattern with my drinking from that day on until the last day I drank.
Yeah. You're better now, so we can joke about it. But wasn't it nice waking up at 14 with no hangover because you're super young? We could joke about it now because you're sober.
Joke about it. You wake up and you're like, oh, okay, a little bit of a headache. Let me just take a pill and I'm fine.
Yeah, I get a hangover watching somebody drink. So what I want to know is when you were, because like I said, I can relate to you as far as the anorexia thing. When did you stop that? When were you like, okay, this is a problem, I need to quit? When was that rock bottom? Not the substance, just the weight stuff.
So this was 3.5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So the eating disorder followed me throughout my whole life. And there were a lot of phases where you want to stop because it is hell. There's no word to describe eating disorder. It's hell. And there were times during it, just like addiction, I want to stop. And you just never get to that point where you do stop. I was in and out of institutions for it throughout high school, but 3.5 years ago, sorry, my father, who had become literally my best friend in my recovery, my best friend, my biggest supporter. Because while I was going through my own recovery, he was going through his own kind of recovery. And we got called into the hospital because my dad wasn't feeling well. Now he was a really young man, like 60 years old, strong. And we got called to the hospital, and he got stung by a scorpion like the day before. So we thought it was something to do with that.
Oh yeah, you guys are in South Africa. That's right. Like
There's
a fucking scorpion? Gosh, damn it.
He was just chilling at a golf estate and got chowed by a scorpion. It was just something that would happen to my dad.
I would have moved immediately. I'd have been gone.
Dude, right?
I don't even go to the country because I don't want to run into a garden snake. Yeah, no, not for me.
Scorpion, it blows my mind. He got stung by a scorpion. Stupid. So we got called into the doctor's room and we're sitting there, and this doctor comes out and he goes, my dad's name was Alan. He says, Alan, you've got a problem. And we're sitting there and we're like, okay. And he goes, you've got stage 4 pancreatic cancer and you've got 9 months to live. And he said it exactly like that. And I was sitting next to my dad. And I looked at him and he was sitting there kind of sunk into his chair, and there were a lot of us in the room. And I looked at him and I was thinking to myself, he's going to die. you know, he is going to die. He has 9 months to live. This is how he dies. And in that moment, I realized that my dad had been looking at me like that my entire life, saying, she is going to die. She is, like, it's not even, it's going to be soon, especially at that point with how sick I was within the anorexia.
Yeah.
And I actually walked out because I didn't want to make a scene and be like overly crying during that moment. And then I went back in, and immediately after he got the diagnosis and got told, well, you know, what the plan is moving forward, we left the room and he went straight up to me and he said, Toni, please make me a promise. So I was like, yes. He said, please don't die before me.
Oh, fuck.
Wow.
Yeah. And in that point, I was like, this is it. I have to recover from this. I don't care how hard it's going to be. I don't care how much it's going to want to make me die. I have to do this. Mm-hmm. It made mortality really real, and it made me want to show my dad I can do this. And he never got to live to see it. Mm-hmm. He never got to see me recover.
You know, it's not about me, it's about you, but I have a similar story. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I went to rehabs and all that stuff for coke, and it was just a complete waste of time. This certain rehab, not all rehabs, this particular one, just a complete waste of time. I was pissed off the entire time. I was trying to fight people because if you fight, you get kicked out, and getting kicked out sounds a lot better than quitting. So that's what and it just, everybody was so damn nice. So I felt like a dick, and I'm not a dick. I'm a nice guy.
No, you're a dick.
So when I get home, you know, time goes by, a couple of years go by, and it was with the cocaine. My mom said, you know, when I was pregnant with you, I did everything in my power to keep you as healthy as I possibly could. And she never said stop doing coke, but she always has this look. She's one of those old school Mexican moms where they just look at you and you know you messed up. She still to this day does that when she looks at my tattoos. But she told me that, and I was just then I stopped completely. No rehab, no nothing, no NA, no nothing. It was my mom that stopped me, because my mom's my girl. How your dad is to you is my mom to me. That's I get that. I'm sorry that happened, but I'm glad you're better.
Thank you. And he would be, I know he would be proud.
Of course. Absolutely. He would be.
I think he'd be really proud, not only that you've confronted it, but that you're sharing it and getting out there. And I know that there's people that you're helping that you don't even know that you're helping. And that is the coolest part of it all, for sure.
Yeah.
So I got to ask, so we started with drinking. You remember, you know, your brother, well, you don't remember your brother's bar mitzvah. So we're kind of down that path, but this didn't stop with alcohol. I mean, you got into everything. So where did it kind of segue from there and grow? I know you mentioned, you know, at high school, you know, it's probably some weed and stuff in there, but I'm guessing in college, university, as you call it, there is when stuff really started to ramp up.
It went wild. So in university, I was studying drama. I was an actress. I could, you know, we were at varsity all day, every day in the theater, going out partying at night. And that's when I was drinking a lot. But my addiction to meth and cat, which is a drug in South Africa, which I'll tell you about if you want to know a bit about that later.
What's it called? Sorry?
Cat, CAT.
Oh,
so it's not KHAT or MCAT, it's just cat. It's very, very prevalent here. I ended up in my first rehab just for drinking. And when I did horrific things when I tried to run my friends over one night and wrote my car off in a golf course and had to get my friends to come get me out. And I went to my first rehab the next day. And
I did that completely sober when the Niners lost, so I get it.
I love it. So I went to that rehab, and I thought, you know, I'm cured after a week. I'm 100% fine. I'm just going to leave. I'm actually really grateful I left then, because then another trauma happened. If you want to know about it, I'll tell you, obviously.
Sure.
But I don't. My cousin, who was literally like my sister, and we were 9 months apart, best friends, grew up together. In fact, when I was drinking so badly and causing so much havoc at home, I moved in with her and her mom, and her other sisters. But I went into rehab and I left. And that day I went home and my cousin was sitting there and she kept saying, I've got a headache. I've got this really bad headache. So my mom took her to the hospital and they gave her medicine, like a viral choice. I don't know if you have that there. They gave her viral choice and they sent her home. And that night she fell into a coma and she got meningitis and was rushed to the hospital. Terry was in a coma for 3 weeks. And then they had to pull the plug. We had to pull the plug. She wasn't here anymore.
Right.
And I, as someone who already had a drinking problem, as someone who had already suffered with an eating disorder, as sick as this sounds, I was broken. I was devastated when my cousin died. But I saw it without thinking it on a conscious level. This is an opportunity for me once again to play the victim.
Sure.
And I can go out now and I can drink now. And no one's going to say to me, you can't drink. Why are you drinking? Because I've just gone through something. And it's like the perfect kind of trauma for me was the perfect excuse to mess up more because no one can say anything. And I met a guy, as it goes, you meet someone who, you end up using with or whatever, but I met him and I knew he was a drug addict. I knew he had a problem with drugs. I knew what he was about. And I went straight for it. I was like, this is what I want, And the one night we went out and I got super, super drunk and we went back to his place and he was like, I've got some cat for you. So I was like, okay, cool, let's do cat. And then 3 days later, being up for 3 days, I was like, it feels like my heart's going through my chest and I'm getting really paranoid. And he was like, oh, by the way, that was crystal meth. And that's when things started for me. Yeah.
So cat's an upper then.
Cat's, yeah, it's an upper. Imagine coke and crystal meth and something in between. Cat would be like the in between those two.
So it's like a Costco and Walmart. You got something nice and then you got something not so nice. So like a Target. It's like a Target.
Target. That's exactly what it is.
Drugs.
I'm sure they're going to appreciate us fucking branding them with street drugs.
If they paid me, I would have said your name here. Your name inserted here.
Oh, shit. It's pretty crazy. And it just goes to show how, quote unquote, our bedfellows that we choose lead to our lifestyle. And you even state about it. And I want people to really hopefully catch what Toni just said was that subconscious thinking. It was not a conscious thought. Your mind, the desire for the numbing, the high, the drunkenness, everything else took over. And you found that situation exactly what you were looking for. Exactly
that. Like I wanted to escape. I didn't want to feel what I was feeling. I felt very sorry for myself. And I felt like, why not? This is going to be fun. This is going to be exciting. I really, what the best is? I don't know if you guys did this, but it's like, I really need to live, I'm special and I need to live the best life. Like I need to be a rock star. I need to do these cool things and not just exist. And then I end up just existing for drugs,
Yeah. No, I know you nailed it. I
totally get it.
I was thinking about that the other day. I've been invited to do some speaking engagements with teenagers. And, that's kind of my premise. Like, I thought I was a fucking rock star. I mean, I literally got my photo with Tommy Lee and I'm like, see how badass I am? I'm a rock star too. And it's the bullshit that I was telling myself out of all those insecurities that I can very much relate to that what you're sharing.
He didn't have me there at that point in time to ground him. Be like, Jason, shut up.
You're not Tommy Lee, Jason.
This is
Tommy
true.
Lee's a rock star, Jason, not you.
This is true. And I'm totally good with that. So I know there was many other things, and you shared an amazing story just on TikTok that which people you need to go check out Toni's TikTok. We got the link in the description here in the bio for the audio and video for however you're getting this. Just the levels of manipulation that you went to. And it was a particular incident where you were talking when your dad was still alive. And I'm guessing you were still living with your mom and brother at that point.
So this story, and every time I think of this story, how, especially with my drug of choice, time doesn't really make sense. So I don't know if it happened all in one night or if it was two separate incidents, but I remember it as one incident. So what happened was I got home and I had actually just called my dealer. I had just called him. I was going to go get my drugs from McDonald's and do my thing. And my mom came into the room and she was like, you're not leaving this house. You're not leaving this house. You're going to die. I'm not okay with this. And I took, I had to go, you do anything to leave. So I took a glass that was next to me and I threw it at my mom and I cut her whole leg open. It was just blood. And I was walking over her and my brother came into the room. Now, my brother is younger than me. He's 3 years younger than me. He was still in high school. And he came in and he was devastated. I just hurt his mother. I just really threatened his mother's life, basically. And he was restraining me. He got on top of me and restrained me from leaving the house and was yelling at me. And I started kicking, I started shouting, I was saying, you say the cruelest things, just trying to hurt him. And he got so angry, he picked me up and he threw me. Now, he didn't throw me to hurt me. He threw me, just stop. I was attacking him. I was like biting him. I don't even know what I was doing. And he threw me, he didn't throw me that hard. And in that moment, I saw an opportunity. And I hit my head. As he threw me, I was like, oh, shit, I can get something for this. So I hit my head against the cupboard door as hard as I could. It was a cupboard or a wall, I don't remember. And I hit the side of my body as much as I could and as hard as I could. And I was like, look what you've done to me. You've hurt me. You're abusing me. You're so abusive. And I left the house, managed to get my drugs. And I went to the same guy's house that I spoke about earlier, stayed there for the night, for a few days, actually, waited for the bruises to come. I got bruises down the side of my body. Took photos, sent them to my dad, and I was like, and my parents were divorced at this time. I was like, your son's abusing me, man. I mean, like a very abusive household, like shit's wild, like I can't live like this. He's like, okay, come to me now. I'll hook you up. I'll give you some money. You can just take some time, go stay at a friend's house, look after you. Your brother's being an asshole. And my dad wasn't so in my life at this point. We were quite separated at this point. So he gave me the money and I went on and lived my best drug-fueled few weeks on that. Those were the kind of things I would do, just like feel sorry, find any opportunity and monetize it.
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
All too familiar, and I think that's part of the reason too we'll continue in toxic relationships as well, as like you're talking even with your folks, we get the rush from the reconnection and then once it goes bad again, well, it's an excuse to feel sorry and just go off and use again in another area.
Exactly. Everything's an excuse. Everything.
So when is the point for you that you hit rock bottom, that it was just, let's start with the substances, that it was just like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. That moment of clarity, as some of us hopefully have.
So my story is a little different, and there wasn't like one exact, well, there is one moment, but I was forced into my last rehab. I did not want to go to this rehab. And it was my father who actually got involved for the first time. And he was like, you're going to a proper rehab, like a rehab where you have to do the work and it's going to be long-term. And he took me there. He put child lock on the car doors. I tried to get out on the highway. That's how much I didn't want to go. And I went there and I sat down and I was like, okay, well, I'm stuck here. I'm going to do what I usually do at rehab. I'm going to manipulate my way through. I'm going to leave. In my head, I'm going to get a job when I leave, because magically I'll get a job and make money and move into my own place. And then I'll relapse. Like I had this plan. Real quick.
When you're stuck there, like, was it a rehab that wouldn't let you leave, or you just felt stuck because you wanted to obey your dad?
Oh, no, I couldn't leave the rehab.
Really?
Yeah, no, I mean, you can leave if you want. You can RHT. I don't know what you call it that side, but I was stuck mostly because of my dad.
Got you. Yeah. Okay, proceed.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. So yeah, I was stuck mostly because of my dad. Also, they were going to get me on a section. So if I had left, they threatened the section and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I went in and I didn't want to be there. And then things changed for me when I was in group one day. So I was sitting in group therapy and every single counselor at this rehab was a recovering addict. And I think that was the difference, because, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. And I was sitting in this group session and the counselor is talking to me and she's asking me, about my life story. And I told her the story of my cousin, like I just told you guys. except I was saying, you know, she was my best friend, and I started crying, and I was like, I can't live without her, and all this kind of stuff. And that's why I did drugs. That's what I said to her. And she said to me, very matter-of-factly, she goes, so how does it feel to have disrespected the memory of your cousin? Oh. And it was tough. It was rough. And you know what? It's what I needed. But I was sitting there and I was holding this chair. And I was like, either I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to beat this woman who would have beaten me up straight, like I had no job. Or I'm just going to sit with these emotions. And I sat with them. And I think for the first time in my whole life, I became self-aware for the first time. And from that moment on, that's when things started changing for me. That was the turning point. And I just took it day by day from then. And as each day went by, each day I was in rehab, each day I was in the halfway house, each day I was in the sober house. For the first time in my life, I realized that I had too much to lose. And that's the shift for me. So it wasn't like this massive moment of realization. It was more putting in the work and the self-awareness around that.
And how long from time of entering that facility to leaving a sober house was it? 3 months, 6 months? How long?
So I did 2 years.
Wow.
So
shit.
I did 5 months in the actual facility. Mm-hmm. And I went to hospital during that time as well, because my kidneys stopped working properly. And then after that, I was in a halfway house, but I did long-term at the halfway house. So I was in the halfway house for a year. And then from the halfway house, I went to sober living, and that was another year. So I did really a long stretch of it.
Sure.
I did 30 days and I thought I was going to go fucking crazy. Can't imagine that long. Goodness.
See, 30 days is rough, dude. It's rough. But I'm
just like, oh my gosh, get me out of here. And we were out in the country. I saw weird ass bugs I've never seen before. It was like
you're such
in the middle of Tijuana and San Diego. It was right in the middle. And we're out in the cuts. And there was like fucking tomato bugs. That was like a giant, it just looked like a giant bouncing ball with legs. And I'm like, what the fuck is that thing? And they're just like, that's a tomato bug, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta go.
Remind me, I can never take you to Australia.
I would never go to Australia. Get kicked in the face by a fucking kangaroo. No, I'm good.
Australia's like made to kill you. It's like you go there and they're gonna kill, like the animals will kill you. But yeah,
please tell me more. Let's go. Like, no, of course not.
Look up a Parktown prawn in Joburg in South Africa. Look up a Parktown prawn.
Okay,
bro,
I will.
They jump. They look at you and they attack, and you cannot kill them.
What is it?
It's like a cricket, but like an overgrown cricket, like a cricket.
Fuck that. Hell yeah. If we ever meet in person, you're gonna have to come to California because I don't know about Jason, but I am not going there.
Oh, I would go there. It doesn't scare me.
Like once a year for like a week, and they live in your slippers. They torture you. They find places to go in your home, and they're like, I'm gonna fuck you up. And literally can't kill them.
Is there like we have bug or the what do you call them, insect people, like Terminators. That's what they're
exterminators.
Exterminator.
Terminator.
Do you guys have just like a fucking exterminator times 100 in South Africa?
Still on our own. We're like, okay, we're just gonna get this guy out. No, of course we have exterminators. But Parktown prawns are like, they're a different, I don't know what they are. Like, I think they're manufactured in a lab or something. That's how
it's like a COVID version of a bug. Nobody knows where it came from and nobody knows how to get rid of it.
Exactly what it is. And you can't do anything about it. You spray it and it just looks at you like, oh, you're trying. You're not going to, and it spits at you.
How did we get on the bug talk?
I don't know.
Speaking of bugs, crystal meth.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
No shit.
So I want to, Toni, I got to ask you, because I'm probably the only addict that goes, gosh, I wish I had the opportunity to go to rehab. So that was kind of a lot of my challenge.
Yeah, you are the only one.
Yeah, I'm sure I am, because I think I would have cleaned me up a little quicker. Would have stuck. I mean, I think it was like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe, that I attempted to get sober for the first time. Then it was I could do a year and a half or something, but fall off. So anyways, what I want to ask was, what are maybe some of those valuable things that you took away from your time in a treatment facility and then into, sober living house? And I'm guessing you probably maybe work furlough from there. What are some of the things that really helped you not only grow internally, mentally and emotionally, but then taking that out in the world? Because I don't think we've really asked someone about that yet.
That's such a good question. For me, if I'm thinking specifically about a rehab environment, it was routine. Routine was very, very important for me then, and getting used to a kind of routine, actually going to sleep, waking up, making my bed, just living my life, and being aware of time and chores and things like that really, really helped me. In the past, I thought I didn't like routine. And as boring as it sounds in the beginning of recovery, I needed that. I needed to keep things as simple as possible. And rehab gave me this routine, and I took that with me. And then there's also the sense of human connection. In active addiction, we think we have all these amazing friends and we're using with them. And there's this, I found my people. But as time goes by, you isolate, you're on your own. These people mean nothing to you, and there's no real connection. And for me, my whole life, there was no real connection. Yeah. And then you go into a rehab facility, and for the first time, and I'm not saying these are friendships you have for the rest of your lives, they fleeting. I don't know where half those people are now, but it was the first time that I was around people that I understood and that understood me. And to be in an environment where people can be honest and open, and there's no frills, there's no masks, that's when I realized that people are just people, and I can connect with these people. And it's that sense of human connection I found. And I also learned how to speak to people, how to engage with people, how to get to know myself, figure out what I like, what I don't like. That gave me the space to do it. But the most important thing was that this rehab was a 12-step rehab. A lot of people don't like, a lot of people aren't for NA, a lot of people, aren't heavily invested in it. But for me, it's what I needed. And doing the 12 steps in that rehab, I had to do it in the rehab. It was the first 3 steps. I had to do them. It was part of the program. And doing that in an environment that kind of forced me to do it, because on my own, I don't think I would have done it properly. I tried before in the past. Got to the root of a lot of things I didn't want to face.
Sure.
And I needed that. I needed that then. I don't think I had I applaud people like my old sponsee, when she was 18 years old, walked into the rooms of NA and cleaned up at 18, just going to the rooms. I could never have done that. Ever. Not a chance in hell. I needed an environment where it was like, you have to do this in the beginning. And again, comes down to routine. It comes down to routine. That's what I learned the most there, I would say.
I did get that out of my rehab. When I got back, like the first month and a half, I woke up and made my bed every single day. Cause you're just like, Mike, your bed's not made. And you just take that with you, because it is so, and I'm already very routine, but that made me routine as hell. So I totally understand what you're saying with that. Absolutely.
Did, being that you come from a background of Jewish faith, was it a pretty easy thing when we talk, for those that maybe aren't aware, in AA, NA, even sex and love addiction, all of the meetings, there's that commonality, the stuff that comes from the big book of finding the higher power. Was that a pretty easy process? Did you already kind of have faith, or in the depths of your addiction, it's like, I don't believe.
I never had faith.
No,
I never had faith. In the early days of, we call it primary school. I don't know if you guys if that's what it's called there, but the first few years of school, I went to a Jewish school and we just did this kind of stuff, and I never really believed in any of it. And as I grew up, I just kept losing faith. Like, I don't follow a specific religion. I never have. And the higher power that they mentioned in the 12 steps is what scared me the most. That was the part I didn't want to tackle. I was like, nope, this is a cult. This is a cult. They're trying to convert me to something. I don't know what it is, but I'm not participating. And then someone said something to me, which was very interesting. They said, do you think you're a God? So I was like, no. They're like, did you think you were God in active addiction? You behaved like you thought you were God. You put everyone else, you put yourself ahead of everyone else. You didn't think of the consequences you were creating around you. And you did everything just for you. That is a sense of narcissism. It's like you believe yourself to be God. And then he was like, well, do you believe you're God? I'm like, no. He goes, well, then you have a higher power. You know, you believe in something outside of yourself. And I found that in the rooms of NA. So I would look around and see people who had 1 day clean or people with like 30 years clean. And I was like, if they can get clean, I can get clean.
Yeah.
And that was my sense of a higher power. But it was a struggle to get to that, a very big struggle to get to that.
And I think everyone has to come to it on their own terms. I know for Mike, growing up Catholic, it's really stuck. And I did Catholic school and those kind of things. But for me, you know, it had to be like, I'm so inquisitive, like I got to know more, and most of all about myself, which maybe is a little narcissistic, but I like to understand myself, especially when I fuck up. Like, why did I do that? And if I can understand, then I can make the amends, because I'm still pretty big on that. I think my sponsor and I are going to start working the steps again here shortly, like going back through and, you know, the inventory, which is important for me. You know, because I think part of my narcissism is I always think I affect people more than I actually do. So,
yeah,
I'm exactly the same.
Are you?
I always had that. Like Jason said, I grew up in a Catholic family, and I still to this day never doubted it. You know, so when other people don't, that's fine. You know, that it's to each their own. I mean, in my opinion, it seems kind of lonely if you don't believe in God. It's like, wow. So who do you talk to when everything in life is going bad? It seems very lonely, but like I said, I'm not here to judge or whatever. If people want to talk about it off air, then I'm more than happy to talk about it. But if they don't want to hear it, no, get away. That's fine too. I'm not tripping. You do you, homie, and I'll do me. I
was saying this the other day, if I'm in an airplane and there's like a little bit of turbulence, I will find God.
Right? All of a sudden, people start believing again when something's going bad.
I remember Hebrew. I remember Jewish prayers. I remember Christian prayers. I go through them. And I'm like, please, something.
Yeah.
You say the serenity prayer, I will find whatever I can.
Yeah. No, I get it.
When is it the time then when you got long enough into sobriety, at least from chemical addiction? Granted, for people that don't understand, you know, anorexia, bulimia, there is still a great chemical response that is happening there in our brain, much like any other one, our dopamine, our serotonin, and so on and so on. But did you feel a confidence to actually sponsor?
I started sponsoring a year into it. It was a year and a bit into it. There was this, I'm so proud of her. There was a girl in the rooms who came up to me. She was a few days clean, and she was like, I just love your style. You know, you know how it goes in the beginning. And I started working the steps with her, and I just fell in love with sponsoring. I really did. I was like, this is amazing. And I was very hard on her in the beginning. You know, I just gotten out of rehab. I've just learned all this hard stuff. And I was like, I'm going to be super, super hard on her. And I was, and it was a great relationship. Then she relapsed. And I was like, okay, you know, get clean. I'll still take you on. I'll take you back. But you've got one more chance. If you relapse, you're going to have to find another sponsor. And she was my sponsee for 2.5 years. And then she relapsed again. And she told me, she had lied to me a bit. And then she told me, and I was like, I love you, but you have to find another sponsor. And guess what? She is an addiction counselor today at one of the top rehabs in this country.
Oh, good for her.
That's badass.
I love it.
Yeah. Makes me so happy.
I love it. What was the hardest thing you found for your sponsees as a sponsor? Was it, I find most people, it's when they got to make that inventory. That is the toughest thing to go through.
It is so difficult. It's so difficult. Like, I remember doing it with my sponsor back then, and it was like, I was terrified, but I didn't ever think, you know, how is she feeling either? And doing it with I just love seeing the growth. So I've got a new sponsee now who's like, she's like my heart. I love her so much. And we're busy doing inventory now and everything. And it's amazing. Like, look, we take on a lot, but it's amazing to see the growth and to see someone say things that they've been wanting to say for so long and get through that kind of stuff. It's so powerful. It's so powerful, and it's just, I enjoy it. It's something I could do it all day, every day.
Yeah. Do you find at the depths of, because you faced two different addictions? I know I did. My first one really is in early exposure to pornography as a kid, and looking back, that was the thing that I carried through from the age of 5 until the last 3 years, where I really confronted that. And much like yourself, I think once the chemical addiction started getting out of the way, even though I did relapse on alcohol, I was able to deal with those underlying things. Was that kind of for you, that once working the steps, getting the chemicals out of the way, then you were able to confront the root of the eating disorder?
Absolutely. I think we need, and I'm trying to put this into words. So it's like, I needed to put the chemicals down first. I needed to work on that. I needed to get sober, clear my head, work on a lot of other stuff. And once I was in a clear headspace, knowing I don't want to go back to that, I was able to tackle that core issue. And I tried, and it only got it right, same as you, about 3.5 years ago. And that's a process, but I could never have gotten there if I didn't get clean of the chemicals. So like needed to go through that whole sobriety journey to get to the point where I could tackle the main primary problem.
Well, I know you're fun because I follow you on social media. Let's talk about the people think that us sober people are fucking boring and we're anything but, because we really get to live and embrace life. Why don't you tell us maybe like a normal day, or like outings and stuff that you do now that there's no way you would have done in your active addiction? Besides running from your life from those prawn thingies.
I've traumatized you. I'm going to send you a photo. I'm going to find photos of them in a video and send them to you.
Please do send them to me, because I want to. I'll Google it, of course, but I want to see the real thing.
Okay, done.
Yeah.
I hope I don't see one anytime soon, though.
I know. I kind of don't want you to send them to me because I don't want you to see it either. Like, I feel bad. Do they bite?
Do they bite? No, they just spit.
They spit?
They spit. Yeah, they have like oil.
Oh, so they're disrespectful little shits.
Yeah.
I'd rather be bitten than spit on. That's just mean. It's like the ultimate disrespect.
Mikey, some people pay extra money for that.
Oh, that's fucking gross. Oh yeah, speaking to comment on that, Jason said that, there was another addiction that he had when he was exposed to porn and all that. Apparently we're both sex addicts too, because we were interviewed by Brianna Davis, the wonderful Brianna Davis, and she gave us a test, and Jason and I failed miserably. Like, if you miss 12 then or less, then you're good. And we missed like 30?
I got 34 out of 40.
I got like 29 or 30 or something like that. I was like, fuck, tack that on. All right, sex addict. So the spitting thing, okay, I guess I walked right into that.
But I already knew that. I knew that.
I didn't.
That was the last thing I wanted to confront.
I thought I was just living my best life single, but apparently it's an addiction. So I'm just like, great. Awesome.
And we will cross addict and addict to anything. And that's a decent addiction.
What are you going to do?
Rock and roll.
Right. Exactly. I wanted to be sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I just like the sexual part of it. Not that I always acted out with someone
drugs
else.
Or rock and roll.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee on the boat. Bobs.
I was asking, like, what's life like now for Toni?
The best. So I only started going out like to bars and places like that with my friends about 3 years into my recovery. 3.5 years in, because I wasn't ready then. Like I said, I needed to keep things as simple as possible in the beginning. Also, I was in treatment for so long. And I started going out. My friends own a bar in Joburg. It's in one of the coolest places ever. And I phoned my friend and I was like, I'm coming there. So I went there for like an hour and I bounced. And I started getting used to that kind of stuff. And then I met the coolest group of friends, not in recovery, they're just normal homies living their best lives. And I met them and we started going out every week. And we would go to places I felt comfortable, like cool, tattoo people bars and like you find your peeps, alternative kind of places, and then we would go to art galleries and go hang out in tattoo shops. I've been hiking a few times, thought I would die, didn't die. I go for coffee. I hate hiking. I hate it. I hate it so.
Yeah, no, camping, hiking, no, thank you. I'm good.
I hate it. I hate it. And I try to act all chill doing it. I'm like, okay, guys, I can totally do this. And as everyone turns around, I'm like, can't drink water, like cry a little bit.
Don't cry behind a tree. Everyone's like, you don't like camping? I'm like, no, we've evolved as humans. We have hotels now. We have air conditioning and heating.
Pussy.
If you go to a nice hotel, people will bring you food.
Pussy.
You know what? I'll still backhand you, pussy or not.
Save wavelengths. Bring things to me.
Bring things to me, dude. We've evolved as humans, bro. I don't need to go hunt my food anymore. I can just get it. I can just have it delivered to me or go buy it. Even better.
Exactly. But I figured out in recovery, I don't like hiking. That was new. So I was like, I might like this. And, you like figure out those kind of things.
Sure.
I'll still do it once in a while, though, just to like appease my homies.
No, I'm not. Fuck my friends. I won't do that.
I hate it so much. I hate it so much. And you can see like I'm wearing these gloves. So I have a disease called Raynaud's disease where my hands go like a completely different color. Can you see? Yeah. To the rest of my body. And when I go hiking, my hands swell. They swell so bad and it's so embarrassing. And I'm just like, everything's fine, guys. Meanwhile, I'm dying.
Is it painful?
It's so painful.
Oh, shit.
I'm actually taking my gloves off now because it's a little bit hot.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's very painful. It's just no blood circulation. It's like you can't touch things. It feels like a million splinters in my hands. But yeah,
I thought you just had a Kat Von D vibe going on. That's what I thought. Gloves.
I'm trying to own it now. Like I swear I'm gonna get the coolest gloves. I want like leather gloves. I want to put spikes on them. I want to get like some graffiti on them and just be like, this is who I am now.
Yeah.
I just have to own it. I've got like a collection of gloves going now. Only like got all the diagnoses like literally a month ago.
Oh wow.
But you have been battling it for a while though, not knowing what it was, correct?
Oh, since I was a kid. Like I knew it was Raynaud's since I was a kid, but I didn't know how severe it was and what it actually was, like an autoimmune disease. Mm-hmm. So I only found that out recent. And it's a lot of this has to do with addiction.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure we destroy our systems. I mean, I did a checkup and was amazed my kidneys and liver. They're like, no, you're functioning great. But I fucked up my testosterone. It's like, you're way low for a guy your age. It's like, oh.
You are freakishly close to sprouting a vagina.
I think so. Pretty much. I am a pretty sensitive.
My friend's sitting with me now and laughing.
Well, so what did you find career-wise that once you got out that was your passion?
Okay, so in active addiction, like I said, I was starting to be, I got my honors in dramatic art and screenwriting. That was always my passion. And I was doing really well as an actress. And I got cast in this really big series in South Africa. And this was in active addiction. And I went there and I was on set and it was taking too long. And I was like, I hate this. I'm leaving. I'm going home. So I just left set. And the next day they were like, are you coming in? Because we really need to shoot your scene. So I made my mom like take the phone. I told her I was feeling sick and she's like, no, Tony's in hospital, like whatever. So I literally ruined my acting career, ruined it. I stopped production on one of the biggest shows in the country. And I played a drug dealer on that show. That was cool. Anyway, I never went to bed. But afterwards, I obviously had to get out of that industry and I didn't know where to go. So someone I met in Narcotics Anonymous said to me, I know you're good at writing. You studied screenwriting. Let's get you into digital marketing. You know, you can freelance for this company I work for. And now 9.5 years later, and I'm a digital content creator, a content writer. So that's what I do. I blog and do social media stuff all day, every day.
That's awesome.
Nice. It's the way of the world now. There's social media people making more money than neurosurgeons.
Crazy. I wish I was.
Right.
We're not good looking enough.
No, well, okay. I'm not good looking enough. You fit the bill. You're the pretty one.
I can't. Yeah, no, I can't do it.
TikTok. You have to do TikTok.
We're trying. Your advice has helped. So I did put up a Sheen video on there, and that thing has started to gain some traction. So you're right. Oh, you offered help. Don't think I'm not going to be like getting the advice, because I'm coming for it. So
yeah, when you get DMs from that, it's him. Just so you know.
So
advice on TikTok.
Let's talk tattoos. You know, we're all tatted up, and you guys are the ones that don't remember some of them. I remember all of mine. I never had that flexibility to just go out and get them.
I didn't realize I had the flexibility. I was, it was Hollywood. It was Hollywood Nights. It's LA, babe. And apparently I had tipped my guy in cigarettes and gave him the rest of whatever bottle I had. I was with a buddy of mine who he actually just moved back from LA. He's been there the entire time. It was and I got the area code of where I'm from while we were in LA, and I've grown to like it now. But I woke up and I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's the first time that had ever happened. Fast forward a couple months, I get LAMF tattooed. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of Johnny Thunders, but I got LAMF tattooed on me, which was the name of his on his album. And I'm just like, okay, I got to stop getting blackout tattoos because this shit's getting old. So those are my ones. So let's hear yours.
So the first tattoo I got, I actually remember it slightly. I was 15. Yeah. We were on holiday with the family, and our friends used to go to the beach in Durban or whatever. And we got super trashed. And I was just walking along the promenade, and we saw a tattoo shop, and me and my friend Claudia were like, let's get a tattoo. This oak didn't ask us for ID. We were too drunk, like children, walking in, and he tattooed, it's like an ankh on my hip bone, but it's not even on my hip bone, because I know, like, in my head, I can see what I did. He was probably like pulling down, like saying I need to like pull the pants down a little bit, and I didn't want to. So it's like skew. It's like the skewest tattoo. So that was one where I was trashed. And then I had to tell my mom it was a nightmare. And then the ones on my feet. So I have breathe in experience, breathe out poetry on my feet. I was so trashed on meth. I don't know if anyone's been tattooed on meth and alcohol. It was the worst experience of my life. The guy who did it, I was supposed to go to someone else. I ended up at someone else. It's very blurry. I was talking the whole time. I was crying. I don't remember how I took care of it. I don't remember who I was there with. All I know is I ended up with 2 tattoos on my feet. It's just
cocaine and alcohol, but not meth. And
it's horrible.
I can't. And taking care of it too. Isn't that weird how that works? There's some people who get tattoos and they're just like, whatever, and just leave it. And it looks amazing. And then you baby a new tattoo and it just looks like shit. I guess it just reflects on your artist and how deep.
I didn't do much. I just wrap them for the day and then take it off and put my cream on.
Oh, I baby the hell out of it.
Same.
Yeah.
I baby the hell out of it. Like if I get when I got my hands tattooed, I kept my shit straight like this for like a week. And he pumped my gas one time. Remember that? I had gotten my fingers touched up and I was like, I need you to pump the gas. He's like, why? I'm like, because I don't want to bend it. Because your skin stretches and the ink gets pulled out.
And he calls me a pussy, Tony.
No, I said you're growing a pussy. So I'm like this, and I didn't want to stretch my fingers. I'm like, you got to put gas in. He's like, all right. So I baby the shit out of him. But
you got some amazing portraiture. What do you got on you, and what inspired you to get those?
So I got Wednesday Addams. When my dad, this was the sleeve I got after most of the sleeve after my dad died. So I wanted to get Wednesday Addams, and I saw some. Do you want to hear my tattoo story? Because it's
yes,
funny.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So my ex-boyfriend did this sleeve. I was sober when he did it. He did the sleeve. Then this guy goes to Los Angeles to tattoo in Los Angeles and goes to see one of our favorite bands. And I am just scrolling on Instagram one day, and I'm following a hashtag that's psychobilly. It's like a really small genre of music. And I see this band playing, and I click play. Some random dude on the internet was filming the band, and my boyfriend at the time was literally in shot with another chick. Like I caught him on Instagram cheating on me.
Damn, what are the
random person's account? And I was like, okay, I need a new fucking tattoo artist now. And I never got going to like go like I'm done with like, you know, dating tattoo artists. Like no. So I saw someone that I didn't know what he looked like because he was a graffiti artist as well. So, you know, never show the face. And he had done a portrait of Wednesday Addams and Gomez Addams, which is what I wanted for my dad. And I rocked up there and ended up with Wednesday, and now he's my boyfriend.
Oh, that's awesome. The work is amazing.
I have a question real quick on that. So does that sleeve constantly remind you of your ex? Oh, well then good.
Nah. It's actually a really good sleeve. He doesn't.
No, it's fantastic. It looks great. I was just curious on your mindset.
I was just going to shade him, but I'm not going to shade him. Yeah, no, I don't think it's look, I love the sleeve. It's got a lot of meaning to me. It doesn't I feel like I don't have that connection with him on here.
Sure. Yeah, that's good.
What's the significance, I got to ask, of Wednesday or the Addams family in general? Because you mentioned your dad. So
I was a little goth child, always into Halloween, horror, you know, the usual kind of stuff. And my dad, like, I just saw us as Wednesday and Gomez. Like, I was his little girl, you know, he was my cool, weird dad. And yeah, that's that. I've always just had an affinity to the Addams family. And this whole sleeve is actually like kind of horror fantasy woman. I've got Maleficent, I've got Bride of Frankenstein, and I've got Vampira.
Oh,
and yeah, these are my, and then I've even got like this leg is just a bunch of women. It's just women.
Do you have Medusa on you? No,
I haven't got the Medusa tattoo yet. I'm doing it on my back.
I have a Medusa tattoo and I had no idea how common it was. But like my dad is obsessed with Clash of the Titans. He loves Clash of the Titans. So I got Medusa right above where I got Mom with some flowers, and I got Julie, which is my mom's name, and her birthday on Roman numerals across my throat. So I've gotten a few tattoos from my mom. So I had to ask on the Medusa one because
no Medusa yet. I really do want Medusa though.
Yeah,
that'll look
it's
good.
dope. It's dope. She's got snakes in her hair. It's fucking sick.
Right? He's a badass. I love it.
And the story is
interesting.
Hey, Toni, we always ask to have the guests leave us with the final thoughts. But before we get there, are you down for some fun random questions?
Go for it.
If they were to make a movie about you, who would you cast to play yourself?
Angelina Jolie.
I could see that.
I could see that. But you know who I was going to say? I know I asked you this, but I'll answer it. Emily Blunt.
Oh, yeah.
Give her dark hair. Put some dark hair on her. Throw some fake sleeves on her.
I love that. I'm down. Ooh, you just made my day.
If by some chance an acting opportunity was offered to you and it was you could play any one character, what would that character be?
Oh, that's such a hard question. I'm trying to answer this quickly. It would be Morticia Addams.
Hell yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Top 3 favorite movies of all time.
Oh, Clockwork Orange.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, Clockwork. I studied film, so now I'm gonna overthink. Clockwork Orange. Train Spotting.
Oh wow.
And Citizen Kane.
You like some shit that can go, because I have a degree in film directing for the camera, minor acting for it. You went to some dark shit with 2 of them. That's a good reminder of why to stay sober, and then one of the most brilliant films of all time.
You have to throw in like Citizen Kane and then just like dash like band movies. So like Clockwork Orange, get all that darkness in, you know, balance it out.
All right, Miss Toni. Well, we could probably talk to you forever, and hopefully we do talk again. But if there's anything that you can leave from your experience in life for those listening, be it they're struggling with mental health, addiction, or they know a loved one that is, that you could share.
I would say to anyone struggling with addiction that reach out. Just reach out and ask for help. There are resources around you, and you might as well give it a shot. What else do you have to lose? You know, just go for it. When you are ready and when you are willing, that's when things change. And it's up to you to make that change. To family members of addicts, I would say, put down your boundaries, put yourself first, protect yourself first, and get help for you. If they don't want your help, there's nothing else you can do. You know, you have to get the help for yourself and work on your own soul and fixing your own soul. And then for people who struggle with mental illness, it's just important to know you're not alone. You're not alone, and there are places you can go and people you can speak to who will just listen. Sometimes we don't need someone to give us advice. Sometimes we don't need that. We just need to know that there's places we go where we can feel safe and speak. There is a way out. There is a way to work through it. It's about finding what works for you and exploring that, and remembering that recovery is possible. We just have to work on it every single day, and things get easier and things get more beautiful.
Hey, thank you. This has been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. For real. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Really appreciate it. And I'm coming to LA, so you're going to have to just see me at some point.
DM us. We'll be there. We're always there.
Hey.